Hello, hello. I want to welcome all of you to another hour of some of the stuff is hard to find anywhere else except right here on this radio station and this radio show, the Universal Consciousness Show. We try to entertain, we try to educate you, we open your mind and we stretch your mind, and sometimes we just plain and simple blow your mind away. And but first, for those of you that like to listen to this show again and you get some more of the details out of it and references and so on, we archive the show. You can go to www.aage-nost.com. That is www.aage-nost.com. And we're also on YouTube. In fact, we're streaming live there right now, so you can go there and watch also and listen. And also on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else that the station puts it out there, which is just about everywhere, so you can find it. And also spread this word around, post it everywhere that you know how to do, and things are good. And also, as always, keep a pen and a paper close by because we just might give you some sources and resources, and you may want to write it down. So, I think we have some ruffling of papers in the background here, so let's watch for that. So, we're going to talk about something really interesting today. For those of you who have been screwed over by somebody, cheated out of something, or stolen from, that should cover just about everybody, shouldn't it? Listen really close. Our guest today is a good friend of mine here in Tucson. His name is John LaVoie, and he has created a website where you can get some restitution, actually some justice. That's a strange word that we don't ever see hardly. And you can do this without hiring an attorney for thousands of dollars up front and several thousands later on. And we'll be talking about what is really going on in the legal system and some of the things that you can do that is very simple to get remedy. So without any more, welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you, Aage. It's nice to be here with you, and Diana with you as well. And I just had a quick question. Is that Beethoven's Fifth set up just for me and the intensity of today's talk?
No, it's our. We do that every time. 20 seconds is all you get.
I see, but it's a great tune, though. You know.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I used that on the TV show I had in Tucson too, for 6 years, and we had Beethoven's there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Diana.
Well, hello, John, and thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
This is kind of unique what I hear here. So it's so different from anything that we ever seen before. So can you tell us how did you think about doing this?
Well, I started out very young and had a great success in my very early 20s. I started a show business, and we ended up in 6 states, 8 cities with over 1,000 people on the payroll. And that's when I first started to realize, and keep in mind, this is now decades ago. That's when I first started to realize America and the world was in a terrible trouble. And we would have literally 30% of the people out of that 1,010. I would have about 10 people throughout the year on my staff. And then the show business, you have to get actors, actresses, and all the set people and everything else. And so we would literally hire 1,000 people within 30 days. And 30% of them would set up the appointment, go through all the motions, and then never show for the job interview. And they wouldn't answer the phone when you try to call them and say, hey, are you going to make it or not? And that's terribly costly. The Human Resource Association in the United States, Diana and Aage, will tell you that fully 33% of the people now on average do not show for their job interviews. And 4 years ago, the average cost of a job interview for a company was $149. I'm sure it's even more than that now. Because they might have legal involved. They have to run the cost of the ad and the other things that they do. And so I found one company, an API company, and they had 250,000 job interviews that particular year, mostly because they were outbound and inbound telemarketing, 800 number kind of a thing. And the AFNIs where they roll these people over quite rapidly. And they had 85,743 people no-show them out of that 250,000. It cost them almost $14 million. Wow. It's hard to believe. Yeah. And then over in your neck of the woods, Diana, in Brussels, I mean, not, let's just say the other side of the pond, probably be more accurate. Yeah. But in Brussels, for example, the event planners got so tired of people saying they were going to be there for their $100 a plate dinner and then watching a beautiful fish dinner get scraped off into the garbage right off the plate because people were no-showing them. They came up with a system to where the people who said they were going to show up would be penalized if they didn't. And so I keep looking around the world. And then in Scotland, the data was on hospitals that something like 90-some thousand people no-showed them 5 times. And if you can imagine the cost to a hospital, you can't even get into a hospital without dropping $500. And 60-some thousand did it 4 times, 30-some thousand 3 times, 15-some thousand. Anyways, they ended up with 400,000 people that no-showed them once. So one thing led to another, and then I realized that, in reading the good book, over 2,000 places in that book demands justice for the poor and the needy. And boy, I think we all feel like that many times in our life. Yep. And so, the creator, I'm sorry, Aage, go ahead. What?
Oh, that has happened. And I think in what you're talking about is also the remedy for the little guy.
Absolutely. And so the final thing, Diana, that brought me to it was that the creator disclosed to me that he was displeased that there was no justice in the land. And when he looked, he saw that there was no one, and he was appalled that there was no one to intervene on behalf of the poor and the needy and those that need justice. And in America, Diana, maybe you can tell me about Europe after this. 2 out of every 3 people are locked out of justice just by the cost of attorneys now. That's horrible.
Yeah, they cannot afford it.
Can't afford it.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely horrible. So that's kind of how it came about. I was recognizing that there was a terrible injustice. We have a terrible reliability problem in the United States. And it's a daily basis that people are no-showing, they're baiting and switching, they're being unreliable, breaking their word, treating people unfairly, not showing up at all, misrepresenting, leaving work unfinished, even failing to pay after they make a representation. So what do you do, Aage? What do you do? So the people in Tucson, Arizona, very few can actually afford $5,000 for an attorney, which is what they ask for now up front. And certainly if your refrigerator being repaired or your automobile being repaired is not going to typically be $5,000. So it's not even worth it for you to go after it, is it?
No.
And that's where we step in, and we have a solution for this now.
This is a global problem, isn't it?
It's a global problem. If you read history, people around the world wax toward, justice and righteousness, and then they wax towards, darkness and evil. And we seem to be right in that pendulum, swinging towards darkness and evil, hopefully turning now and going back the other way.
Yeah, I absolutely claim that. And, and I don't know, what about this over in Europe, Diana? How is it over there? Is there a lot of people there also that they have been screwed over, they have been cheated, they have been stolen from, and they cannot afford to go and use the legal system? The attorneys are too expensive there too, aren't they?
Yes, they are very expensive unless you have an insurance. The most people, they have insurance. But for example, one that it's like me, I cannot afford an insurance either. So if I need an attorney, I have to pay. And if you don't have an attorney, you are screwed up. So you have no chance to go somewhere or to open a door to solve your problem. So you need an attorney. You are totally dependent on him. And sometimes, or let's say most of the times, the attorney are as bad as your enemy, or much or worse.
Yeah, they steal too,
They take
don't
your
they?
money. Yes, they take your money, and as soon as you pay your invoice, they will not answer the phone. They will let you with the problem unsolved, and they don't care.
Boy, Diana, will Augie tell you, how about my experience recently with Danielle Constant and Jennings Strauss and Gus Rosenfeld and Jerry O'Mara and what they just did to us in that court.
Yeah.
It was really unbelievable. So you're right, Diana. It's over here too. The desire of money is the root of all evil. And the Black Rope Society loves money more than anybody I've ever met in my life.
It's their God.
Yes.
It is their God. It absolutely is their God. And, you know, Diana, on that note, really, the reality of justice in America, I can speak, and please add anything you know about Europe. But, you know, we've all heard the phrase, you have a right to an attorney here in the United States. But most people don't know that that's only if you've been accused of a crime. But crimes such as, you know, like a victim crime, crimes such as fraud, abuse, exploitation, things like that, they end up in our civil side of the justice system. And when that happens, you only have three options. You can hire an attorney, you can try to get legal aid, or you can represent yourself. And on those legal aid insurances, by the way, I was there a long, long time ago. And boy, when it came down to it, you're going to be terribly frustrated and upset because it's not going to deliver, or at least it didn't for me and anybody else that I know. With the attorneys, they're just way too expensive. In America, it's $150 in a very small town to $1,000 per hour in bigger towns. And they're just out of range for most people, you know? So one in seven Americans right now are living below the poverty line.
I think the number is bigger than that, John. The last I saw, there's down to about 5, 6.
In 7?
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to look at that again.
No.
The last time
1 in 5 or 1 in 6, I think they were talking.
Oh, I see.
About. Yeah.
That's probably very,
They're
very...
borderlining a third world country.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are at now, as UN says, we're a second world country.
Mm-hmm. So you have these groups out there, you know, that started certain types of systems for legal aid. But still, when it comes down to it, more than 60 million Americans or more are just unable to even get help from any free legal assistance. Mm-hmm. There are some groups starting, but what we've done is different. You know, there was a paradigm shift in many industries. The travel agency industry. You know, you drive down the street here in America, you don't see a travel agent anywhere anymore. They used to be in every strip center. Mm-hmm. And the internet displaced that with a paradigm shift. And then Craig Newmark with Craigslist displaced the newspapers probably around the world because he went after their advertising. And I can go on and on with many industries that have just been remarkably transformed, and they're not what we used to know them as. Well, this is about right now with what we're working on. This paradigm shift is coming to the world. We are about to dismantle the exclusive society of the Black Robe, and we are about to take away their power to make all these decisions. We have 14 million civil cases last year in the United States were settled for an average of $28,000. If you can imagine the enormity of the size of that financially, just do the math on it. Mm-hmm. But Diana and Augie, what I maintain is for every one of those cases that gets settled and someone gets at least a little tiny piece of justice for what happened to them, I maintain there's at least 5,000 cases that never get filed and no one ever gets relief.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because they can't afford it. They don't know the law. They're intimidated by going into the court, all these other reasons. And now we've offered them a platform that doesn't require the Black Robe Society. All it requires is them going to No Show Joe, clicking on the Report of Joe, filling out either a quick report or what we call the pro report, because the more data you can provide us, the more likely we'll collect for you. The service is free to use. There is no cost to use it. Now, if you want to advertise, or you want to buy a T-shirt from us, or you want to get a certified Joe seal to show the world that you've been pre-approved by us as vetting you as being a good Joe, there's fees for those kind of things. But the system is free totally to use. You make your report. The report then causes the phone to ring, or the email to light up, or a text to go to the individual. And let me tell you how powerful it is.
Yeah, let's hear that story, because that's phenomenal. I almost fell off the chair when I heard that story you told me about the tires.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you. I'll tell you the tire one right after this one. Okay.
Okay.
This is what happens. You're sitting there, and so let's say you reported me. My phone suddenly beeps, and a message comes up on my phone and says, "We are sorry to inform you, a report Joe warning has been filed about you for leaving work unfinished," or whatever the issue is. Okay, the reporting Joe claims $500 in damages. This is your opportunity to resolve the matter within 7 days before this report about you goes live on the internet on every search engine in the world. Visit, and then there's a link for you to visit to resolve this issue and keep your good name. Boy, let me tell you my test marketing on this. I've sent it to people like you. I didn't send it to you yet, but I've sent it to people like Mark Dominguez and others. And these were friends of mine.
Yeah.
And they just go like livid. They're just like, it took me 3 days to call Mark Dominguez down and say, dude, I was just testing the system here. Chill, It was really funny. But it's so powerful. And people are so worried about having something out in the world on the internet that they actually listen and take action. So what happens next then is you click on that link on the phone, or I would, and I'm led right to a problems resolution solution, which we call Change Joe. Because if I want to get out of the problem, I've got to change, and I've got to make good with Aage. Mm-hmm. So we have several different ways to do that when we go into Change Joe. I can either just admit I did you wrong, Aage, and pay the $150 or $500 I owe you. I can ask to pay you in payments. And of course, we put out to the other party, to you, a complete amortization schedule on how I would intend to correct this problem. I can make an offer as a compromise. I can make an offer in payments. I can just ask for forgiveness. I can make a gift apology. I can ask to take classes to improve myself, like my word is my bond class. Because this site, Diana and Aage, is not about tearing people down. It's about waking them up that their behavior is causing other people pain and sorrow. And then what we do is when we wake them up, we give them the opportunity to clean up their act. And when they do, we're the only ones in the world that are doing this. When they do, they move from a red light, report a Joe, into a yellow light, change Joe. Then they end up in the green light, clear Joe, good to go. And when they do that, we de-index that report from the internet. Now, it will be in his personal account at No Show Joe, but now it will show he's a good Joe. He manned up, womaned up, stood up to the problem, and took care of the pain he caused. And this is what we're doing. What do you think?
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
we got to have that story, John.
Okay, I'll tell you the Jack Furrier story. And if for anybody who's listening in Tucson, go do business with Jack Furrier. And I mean that because they manned up. So I got a classic Riviera, and I take it up to the Grant and Oracle location, and I walk in, and there's a guy in there, and I say, hey, so I need to have this impediment taken from one of the tires and patch it. And since I had the insurance policy on the tires, although that had just expired, but the lifetime balance and rotate came with it. So I leave, and about an hour later, he calls me up and he says, hey, I can't fix that tire. And I say, why, Justin? Why can't you fix that tire? He says, well, because the patch will be too close to another patch. Well, he didn't know I was an old tire guy, So I say to him, well, that's what they make the larger patches for. And he says, well, our policy isn't to do it, but I can sell you a tire for $150. Oh, thanks. You know, just what I wanted to hear. So you know how I am, Augie. I'm like, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
So I say to him, well, just put the tires back on. I'll come down and get the car, and I'll take it down to Pedro a few blocks down the street at his little tire shop, and he'll do it for me for $10. I'll be done. So I get to the Jack Furrier, and the donut is on the front where the tire had the problem. The donut is that tiny little tire, for anybody who wants to know, that isn't like a real tire, but allows you to, in an emergency, to get off to a gas station.
Yeah, and you look lopsided going down the street.
Exactly. So I walk in the store and I say, Justin, what's up with the donut? And he says, well, I couldn't patch the tire. And I say, did you remove the implement first? And he says, yeah. And I said, well, wait a minute, that's not how it works. Here's how it works. You dunk the tire in a dunk tank. You see bubbles coming up. You mark that with a yellow crayon. Then you take the tire off and you check the belts inside to see if everything's okay. Then you make the decision on what you're going to do. So what you did was you didn't follow procedure for tires, and you've now relegated me to a problem here. So he actually said to me, folks, well, I won't repeat it on the air, but get the something or other out of the shop. And I had a friend with me at the time, Bell, and we were both just shocked that he even said it because he was caught, and I guess that's his response.
Yeah.
So I said to him, so I know Jack's dead now, but his son's still alive. What's administration's number? And I get it. I get back to my office and I call, and Chris, I want to give Chris accolades, fabulous guy. Chris from the administration's on the phone. He says, tell us what happened. And I tell him. He goes, yeah, that's not right. Let me see what I can do. I'll be back in a few minutes. He comes back 4 or 5 minutes later, whatever it is, and he says, you know, it isn't right, but we can get you that tire. We'll discount it to $98. And I said, boy, Chris, thanks a lot, but, you know, that isn't exactly the way it should go. I didn't do this. You know, your man did this. And he's like, yeah. And right then, one of my coders for the software asked me a question about No-Show Joe. And I went, ding. And I said to him, Chris, are you sitting in front of a computer? He says, yeah. I said, would you type in NOSHOWJO.com? And then I went on, Augie and Diana, to kind of apologize because, you know, I don't want to beat anybody up. I just don't want to be robbed anymore and taken advantage of. And so about 3 minutes go by, and suddenly I think he hung up the phone because I hear absolutely no noise. And I go, Chris, are you there? And he goes, yeah, I'm here. I said, oh, I didn't hear you anything talking about as I was speaking. He goes, yeah, I've been looking at the website the whole time. Will you hold for a minute or two? He goes back, he comes back, and he says, Mr. LaVoie, we have a brand new tire waiting for you up at our First Avenue store. Do not go back to the Brant store. I want you going up to the First Avenue store. And the gentleman will take care of you there. Boom, done, over. All because I mentioned No-Show Joe and that he may end up there. That's a powerful solution.
Yeah. There is a hammer there that the little guy can use.
Absolutely. But he has to use it, or she has to use it, Diana, righteously. Because when you make that report, we actually have a checkbox you must check and you must read that you have made that report honestly and to the best of your belief and reason, lest you end up with a lying to the court problem. Mm-hmm. So we cover both sides of it. This isn't something that people can just come in and suddenly start making stories up without, correction back to them. So
anyway. There can be repercussions if you lie about it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well, that's the way it should be. And I've been in the courtrooms enough. I know that somebody's getting on the stand and lying their face off. There's no repercussion there, especially if you are one of the, of the club, because the court system, in Tucson and everywhere, I think it's a global problem there too. It's so corrupt that there is no, if an attorney lies or if a judge just doesn't follow the law, where do you go? There is no place to go for restitution against those guys because they got the system sewed up.
Yeah, it's absolutely the truth. And as you know, in this one case, since we have an LLC, I can't move on the floor for the LLC because they have rules that only an attorney can represent a trust or a corporation. And there's reasons for that, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think
I know
reasons.
the biggest reason for it is that the attorneys will make more money that way.
Probably secretly behind the scene, that's exactly what happened in the back room.
Yeah.
But what they want you to believe is that since they're stockholders or beneficiaries, that you need to have a professional in there doing the thing. Well, you know, Augie, you know this. The year I was born in Arizona, there was no such thing as Arizona revised statutes. They did not exist. They were literally promulgated in 1956. There, I'm dating myself.
Really?
Yeah. So now when you take a measuring stick, a tape measure, you have over 14 feet of it annotated. And ignorance is no excuse for the law. Unbelievable. It's a nightmare.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Last time I measured, it was 34 feet of United States code. And that doesn't include the Code of Federal Regulations, which is the implementation of the law, nor the public record, whatever it's called in Arizona. I'm forgetting what it's called in Arizona off the top of my head. But yeah. So.
And then the congressional record of the law, which is about a quarter of a mile.
It's unreal. The whole thing is unbelievable. We just need to really clean house, dismantle a huge portion of this because, we lost our statesmen. We didn't have statesmen that were truly concerned for the people in the state body politic.
Yeah.
They were there for themselves, to serve themselves. Look at Nancy Pelosi, for example, goes into Congress with nothing. She's got $24 million now. Now, how would somebody like Nancy Pelosi pull that off without being an insider? It's just one example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
And the thing, when it comes to the corruption in the court system, though, that it's so rampant that it is almost to the point where it is accepted.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, yeah, we know they're corrupt, but what can we do? Let's go with it, So people have given up. And I think this is something that you can help change here.
Yeah. I know so, Augie. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Because I know Diana told me earlier also that she had an issue with an attorney over there, which, I don't know if she want to go into that, but he stole from her, and there's really nothing she can do.
It's absolutely rampant. Go ahead and make a complaint to the Bar Association, Pima County, Arizona, United States Bar Association. Good luck getting any ethical correction of the attorney. It's really a big old boys club, and I don't know if you know, Augie, but the Bar Association right now is in front of the legal committees in the Arizona legislature. $300 million in fees they're sitting on in just Arizona that they've collected from attorneys, and try to get compensated out of the compensation fund for a attorney acting in malpractice. Good luck.
Yeah, they're going to whitewash everything.
It's really horrible.
I tried that once, and I got a very polite letter back, basically saying, "Go pound sand."
Yeah, I know. There's no relief, you see, and this is why I've done this. And Augie, I literally have 3 years of my life in developing this software. Diana, have you had a chance to look at the Justice Joe courtroom?
Just tiny bit today, because I just received it today. So when I came from work, I just took a look, but not so deep.
Well, let me tell you. So if you can't get someone to give you relief because you're asking for forgiveness, and by the way, you can't do this at Ripoff Report or Yelp or Angie's List, Home Advisor, Travel Advisor. You call up Ripoff Report to try to get the report off your name because you've made good with the other guy, and they'll tell you that'll be $2,000 to start. Mm-hmm. Yelp, $500 to start.
And I see right now that we're down at the bottom of the hour. We got to take about a 3-minute break to pay some bills for the station here. So we will be coming back after the break with John LaVoie talking about the legal system and how we can get a remedy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Available now, Troll Spray. Do you have problems with trolls? Do you constantly find yourself turning on the light of truth and find they come out of the woodwork after you? Give your trolls a quick squirt of Troll Spray and you'll be amazed at how quickly they flee. Troll Spray has been tested on all of the different types of trolls, shills, false prophets, doomsayers, sock puppets, and of course, those ever fearsome hostile radio show hosts. It works on them all. Get Troll Spray today, available only at LNM Radio Network. Spray the trolls away with Troll Spray.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Great fear and trembling shall seize them, even to the ends of the earth. The earth shall be hurt, and all things which are in it perish, while judgment shall come upon all, even upon all the righteous. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon them and destroy the wicked. Yet as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. No peace shall be to you.
Do you think social media is the end-all be-all? Do you live and breathe by Facebook and other platforms? Do you spend hours and hours endlessly going through posts by alleged friends in an endless quest to have a life? You need Fakeaway, available exclusively through the LNM Radio Network. Our crack scientific teams have worked tirelessly to perfect this product and have made it available to you through this limited offer. Fakeaway can solve the problems suffered by you and many others. It can help you understand you have been snowed by the fake media, the social media biases you encounter every time you click refresh, and even help your hair grow by keeping you from pulling it out over the smallest offenses. Get Fakeaway today, only through LNM Radio Network. Fakeaway is not for shills, disinfo agents, lovers of politicians who keep screwing the country, constant end-of-the-world predictors, liars, hostile radio show hosts, or snowflakes.
Hello, hello. We are back with the Universal Consciousness Show. We're talking with John LaVoie, and we are talking about what the little guy can do to defend himself against the big bad wolf and get justice. And we're going to get back to that. Did you catch that, John? This product called Fake Away. Boy, do I got to get some of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great product. Yeah,
Man,
interesting.
man.
Yeah, interesting. Others are talking about it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it should sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
I love that one. Yeah, and Diana, you had a comment too.
Yes, talking about the little guy, which I am actually. I have a question. I don't know nothing about law. So if I want to make a claim against someone, can I do that? Do I necessarily need an attorney?
Absolutely not. We've made this so simple. If you just go to the homepage, noshowjoe.com, it'll give you a list of what solutions we can handle. Really, there's more than that, but the top ones we thought of. And over to the right side, you'll see Report a No-Show Joe, or you can go up to the Report Joe menu, a bar link, and just go down and click on Report a Joe. And you can choose a quick report or a long form report. The quick report will take you about 2 minutes. And you put in as much data as you possibly can on that report, and you hit send. And then from there, almost always in our testing, we've experienced the solution instantly, because people don't want to have the truth about their nature exposed on the internet. That is just a motivator and a driver. So no, you don't need to know about the law. Now, if the guy comes back, the person comes back, and they decide they're going to change their reputation, which is under Change Joe right next to the Report Joe button. Again, they can pay off in lump sum and payments, make an offer in lump sum and payments, ask for forgiveness. Hey, they can just write you, or you can write them and say, hey, I'm sorry, would you forgive me? And the great thing, Diana, on this is that we have this set up with audio and video. So you know how hard it is to go over to your neighbor after you've done something that's just not right or whatever, or to call up a friend or anybody and talk with them directly on the phone. What keeps us from doing that is that embarrassment factor, you know. But now you can do it right through audio, video, and little video snippets and send it off to the person and just say, hey, I'm sorry, this is what happened, would you forgive me? But the others are a gift apology, the success classes. But the two I really wanted to talk about today is file an abuse report and file a community appeal. So we've set this up to where, say you made a report against this attorney, and now he has to do something about it within 7 days. And by the way, so if you send that report, when you send that report, and let's say it's me, and I got that report, if I respond right away, the clock of that 7 days stops. And then if you never respond back, that case never hits the internet, that report. But if you do respond back, the clock starts again. And then I have 24 hours to respond. If I don't respond, the clock's running, 7 days, default goes live, that's it. But if I do, so this gives us time to negotiate together. The system really promotes people getting together and resolving the issues, which we pretty much don't have out there without spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So the other one is then the community appeal. So let's just say I filed the community appeal on the report you made. You don't need an attorney. You don't need anybody. In the Justice Joe courtroom, it's again a live audio video. There's 12 seats for the jurors or users, because that's who makes the decision, the actual users of No Show Joe. And so anyway, you have a spot for a Judge Joe, and you have a spot for the reporting Joe and the reported Joe, or the plaintiff and defendant. And literally the community is going to hear your appeal. Put up whatever you want. He doesn't have the right to counsel. You don't have the right to counsel. It's just the two of you. We may change that down the road as people report to us how things are working out, but you don't really need it. It's more of an appeal directly to the community about what's right and what's wrong, without, 14 feet of Arizona revised statutes annotated.
Mm. What about someone that kind of like me that is very lean on the knowledge of the computer? I've been competing with the Village Idiot for years on that. So is there we probably could get someone to help us maybe of uploading papers and things, or is there anything that you can do about that?
Well, first, Augie, I'd like to say that I'm hurt that you compared me to not being able to deal with the computer. Anyways, I'm kidding. I'm the Village Idiot is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm claiming. Well, I don't claim it anymore, but it sounded funny.
Yeah. Okay. So, no, it's really simple. You fill out that form once. They either deal with it, they don't. If they don't deal with it, it goes live on the internet, every search engine, and then they're going to know that something's wrong. They're going to find out they lost a little business. Someone won't pay attention to them, whatever it is, and it'll be because of that report. When they determine that, then they're really motivated to get that report off. I mean, just look out there in the reputation management industry. It's huge already. Yeah. And but drawing a little sideline there, Amazon and eBay, they have their little rating system with the stars. Oh, that's great and everything. But when you look at all these buyers, inevitably they're going to have a bad experience with somebody. So you kind of look at this and you still can't really make a good decision as to who to work with. But what they don't have is a problem resolution. And we're going to bring that to them as well. So there's not much paperwork. You really fill out the report. If the other guy appeals to the community, you can upload your evidence, whatever you have, maybe a traffic ticket, you were stopped and couldn't make it to the appointment on time, or whatever it may be. And no, the answer is no, there's not a lot of paperwork. You don't need a lot of knowledge. You don't have to read a whole bunch of stuff. It's literally a community action appeal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that when let's say I had a claim against me, I didn't even, let's say it got in on an email and I received it and I didn't see it. So it goes live in 7 days and I don't even know it. I find out about it, let's say a month later. Can I open it back up then so I can come back in and say, challenge this and say, look here, this was a mistake? Yeah, so it doesn't really lock you out. Closes. You can always come in and solve the problem.
Absolutely. It never closes. It's wide open. The whole real purpose, hey, we have to secure justice for those that are being abused. And now with the internet, everything has changed because, Augie, I used to sit down on the courthouse steps at Superior Court and, with a bullhorn trying to get people's attention to what was happening with the justice. Mm-hmm. But now with the internet, this is a paradigm shifting situation. I'm going to predict right here on your show, Diana and Augie, that this No-Show Joe and Justice Joe is going to bring an inordinate amount of relief to the people. And through this system, as we administer justice, we're going to make absolutely sure we show mercy and compassion to everyone, whether they're the victim or the perpetrator. Because if we can't reach that perpetrator deep down in his soul and in his heart and get him to realize he can't be doing this to people, then what do we have? So really what this site is about is, having them step on the rake so it hits them in the head and they can read Ace Hardware on the end and wake up. And that if they don't do something about it, then they probably will be losing business down the road. And that brings them back to you to solve the problem and resolve it with you.
Yeah. Here's a thought that I had. And the system of law that this is based on, does it, if someone is kind of want to use, let's say, the British common law, the American common law, which actually there is no American common law, that's only within the States, but, or the rules of, let's say, the UCC, can that be interjected into this and say, like I have read 2 Supreme Court cases. Actually, I think it's one referring to the other one, and where it says that there has to be remedy in law. But for this, let's say an LLC in Arizona, an LLC in Arizona, if you don't have the money to hire an attorney, there is no remedy in law. You just got to go in there and stumble through yourself and get nailed. So how can that revert back to this? Even after there's a judgment, can you come back? After there's a judgment in the regular court system, can you come back with a claim after that?
You can't. You mean come back on no-show Joe or to the courts?
No, against the attorney or against someone that violated court rules, or the Supreme Court, or the.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Anyone. So everyone, everywhere, everything.
So if you got screwed in the court system and they violated the law, you could still come in here and make a claim. That's excellent. In fact, and at the larger scale,
well, the thing about it is,
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. At the larger scale, what?
At the larger scale, I have a friend in Eastern Europe. I got an email from him today, and he has a very large estate that is under attack by a related family member, and he stands to lose it all. How can he take something like that and interject that into this system?
Well, let me tell you how I've set this up. Mm-hmm. So it turns out that arbitration is absolutely king. In fact, every Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court, and really I shouldn't say every, but almost all Supreme Courts have already ruled that in the United States, actually worldwide, 150 countries, that arbitration is king. So if you have a phone from, say, Verizon, their arbitration agreement is going to rule. You can't even get into an Article 3 court. And again, I don't know what they would be referred to in Europe, but you can't even get into an Article 3 court, when there's an arbitration agreement. Excuse me, you have to go in front of an arbitrator. Well, as I realized that, if you go under About Joe, you'll see a section called What You Should Know, Joe. And when you get in there and you begin to read, you'll see that when you sign up, you have agreed to the terms and conditions of the site and the arbitration policy and agreement and the arbitration guidelines. Excuse me for coughing here. But so once the other party receives this notice of this report, if he wants to see the report and go on and see what's happening, he also has to sign into the system, or she. That then puts them in the same standard and same playing field that we all are going to live under with this. And so when you're done with this and you have an award from the people, which we call Jerry Joes, by the way, and we own all these .coms. Every one of these names I'm throwing out at you, Certified Joe, we own all those .coms.
Yeah.
And so the Jerry Joe would make the decision. Then if you say you got $5,000 in an award from the Justice Joe Court, well, our arbitration agreement calls for you to be able to go to any superior court in the United States and soon worldwide, when I understand what the proper naming is of all of them, and do an execution under Title 12, which is courts in Arizona, and you can go collect the judgment. But you probably won't have to, because that's where we make the money and we come into the picture because we collect for you. And, 100% of nothing, ladies and gentlemen, is 100% of nothing. And 4,999 cases all day long that I see are going unsolved and people are just being ripped off.
Yep.
So we do this for free, but if we collect, we split with the people. And that's how we're hoping to keep it driven and keep it going.
Yeah, something's got to pay the bills, because there's people here that need to eat. This bad habit that we have, we got to eat. And most of us like to have a roof over our head. Yeah, that's good.
So they can't lose, Aage and Diana. Yeah. They really can't lose.
Yeah, I know. And what I'm seeing also is that this is a portion of this is almost like a courthouse on the internet.
Oh, it totally is. When
Yeah.
you see the Justice Joe and you go to the Justice Joe court, it's literally a rectangular box, 12 people's audio video wrapping around it, chat room in the center, evidence room, Judge Joe, call him up. He's on call constantly, which, by the way, is me to start. And, you know, it's just like a courtroom. You can voir dire the witnesses. You can select a foreman. A foreman can shut off anybody's audio if they're being unruly. We've got everything that would happen in a courtroom happening in our courtroom here, audio, video. And here's a great one. You don't even have to be anywhere to be a witness, for example, or a reporter, Joe, or wherever. Literally, we have it set up to where your phone will ring, just as in this talk show, 15 minutes beforehand. And we will set up the provision for you to appear in the Justice Joe witness right from your cell phone, wherever you're at in the world.
Yeah. I see also now we got
You like that one?
we have 3 minutes left of the show, so you have the floor. Give them your website and give the people some last advice, what they can do to get justice for themselves.
Okay. The website is noshowjoe.com, noshowjo.com. And please keep in mind, we're in beta right now. So if you find any issues with the site not being linked correctly, if you just go over to the final button on the right-hand side where it says Help Joe, you can go down to make a suggestion or just contact us or click on our live help, whatever you'd like to do, and we'll come on. And we would really appreciate all the folks in your audience helping out, because we have a chance collectively with a movement to change the world and bring it back to security of the justice that the Creator demands from all of us.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at. And I think we have a real opportunity here, Aage, to really create a paradigm shift. And all it takes is for people to say, hey, I'm not going to court anymore. I'm just going to Justice Joe and Judge Joe and No Show Joe. So, yeah. So I appreciate you folks inviting me on today, and I appreciate everybody out there who wants to get involved with the project. We certainly could use more help. It's just a few of us doing all this coding. And as you know, Aage, it's been going on 3 years with all this coding. We have 268 pages of superpower.
Yeah. It's been a ride.
It's been a long road.
I know I've been involved.
Sure has.
I have been involved with this, help you brainstorm some of it and put it together. So, yeah, I know it's been quite a ride. And, you know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, I was wondering if we could use the British common law, the UCC or something like this. But I see something that is even more overlaying than that, and that is God's law. I think that is coming into play here, because
the Lord is absolutely the God of justice.
Yeah, it is. If it is right, it should supersede all other man-made law.
Oh, absolutely, sir. I'm really happy you said that. You know, blessed are those who act justly, Psalms 106. Do what is just and right. Rescue from the hand of the oppressor the one who has been robbed. You know, Jeremiah 22. We can just go on and on. We are absolutely mandated to administer justice. And somehow the darkness, I refer to them as Satan socialists, somehow the darkness is taking control worldwide with this black robe society, and created a cash flow for themselves that they just bleed the people to death. And, you know, good will come to those who are generous and who conduct their affairs with justice, Psalms 112. The poor are shunned, you know, even by their neighbors.
Yeah, it's everywhere around.
Seek justice, defend the oppressed.
Yeah, and even a blind guy will.
And Diana's.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for the show today, and hope you find some relief here for yourself. And do let me know if you file a report, and I will be happy to follow that with you and see if we can help you get it solved.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. And I thank everybody for listening. We love you out there. I know we got a global audience, and I just love it because give us some feedback. And thank you, John, for being a guest. This was fun, actually. This was really uplifting fun
Thank
to
you
hear
very
what
much.
can be done. So I thank you very much. And we will be back next week with the Universal Consciousness Show. So have a good day. Take care of each other.
Thank you. Bye-bye.